Look at these. Isn't this so cool? And look at the colour on this one. These are our first ever eggs. So not only do we have vegetables, we now have protein. This is so cool, guys. You know, it wasn't quick getting to this stage. It has taken a long time to get from hatching eggs right the way through to laying hens. And despite researching chickens for about a year before getting them, some things you only really learn by keeping them yourself. So in this video, I'm going to give you the story of how we got here, how long it took the girls to start laying eggs, and what affects when a chicken lays an egg. To begin with, I ordered some eggs from your favourite electronic auctioning website. I ordered 18 eggs from 3 different flocks, and I picked the Cuckoo Marans breed because I really wanted those deep brown eggs. The plan was to take the eggs, incubate them, and then assume half would be girls and half would be boys. Anyway, 6 of the eggs were dead on arrival. 2 of them I managed to drop before they even made it into the incubator. Then I decided to candle the eggs throughout the incubation process using this candler, which is basically just a giant flashlight with an egg-shaped mount which lets you see the embryo inside the shell. After a week or two, it looked like that actually a handful of the eggs, they weren't fertile, or they died inside the incubator, which means that by day 18 I actually only had 5 eggs left. So that whole meat chicken thing, yeah, that plan was scrapped pretty quickly. Then at 21 days, which is perfectly on time, the eggs started to hatch. Then for about a week, the chicks ended up in this brooder box in the corner of my office here. However, they were quite loud and this was quite small. So a week later, they were moved into the spare room, into the puppy playpen. In the brooder and in the puppy playpen, I used this heat plate to keep them warm. It's much safer than the heat lamp, there's no fire risk. The only issue is it's a bit slippery on the top, so you might want to put down some anti-slip mat. Heat comes from the bottom, so it's best to put it on a slant, and that way the chicks can work out where they want to sleep overnight without getting too hot or too cold. At 10 weeks old, they're pretty much fully feathered, and at that point I couldn't stand the smell of poo inside my house anymore. So I moved them outside into their run. And then the cold weather came, probably the coldest December I've ever experienced. The water would freeze a few times a day and need replacing, but in general, the birds did really well. I fed them mixed corn, that's meant to help them generate more body heat. Otherwise, they didn't need any assistance from me at all. Since then, they've just been getting bigger and louder. At 12 weeks old, the boys became really affectionate. And then at 16 weeks old, they started crowing at 5:30 in the morning. And a few weeks later, they started becoming confrontational, taking bites at my hand. So, mixed feelings on the boys right now. Meanwhile, the hens definitely have a bit of a mean girls pecking order going on, with number 1 right at the top and number 5 at the bottom. Otherwise, they've mainly been hassle-free, with the combs going red at week 18, and now we're getting fresh eggs. My birds started laying eggs at 21 weeks, which was the end of February. However, there are loads of things that can affect when a bird will start laying eggs. For example, the breed. Generally, they'll start laying between 18 weeks and 26 weeks. However, that really can vary. Also, the time of year can really affect things. During winter, some birds just won't lay any eggs at all. And that means if you're raising chicks and they come to maturity during this time, then it will probably delay the onset of lay. And of course, their diets will have a massive impact on the development of both the bird and the egg. So I totally understand why people buy point of lay hens, especially when you consider how expensive the incubator is, how much the brooder costs, and just how much work it actually is to raise chicks. On the other hand, I do really like being mother hen and treating them like my babies. It's been fun watching them develop their personalities, and I'm not sure if this is true or not, but they're meant to be friendlier birds if they're hand-reared, although sometimes it's hard to tell. If you want information about incubation and hatching, please leave a comment in the comment section, or check out this playlist for information about looking after your backyard chickens. Otherwise, as always, happy gardening and chicken keeping.